Good morning, everybody. It's almost time, just a few more minutes. I want to make sure that we give enough time for people to join in. I see that there are about 30 of us here, which is awesome. We have more than 60 registrations, so still a few more people need to sign in. We'll resume shortly.
आप वीडियो फुल है
It is 10 o'clock, and there are a few more people who are joining in, so let's give it a few more minutes. And in the meantime, if you can just chat a little bit about who you are, where you're from, that would be wonderful. We'll be able to test out the chat function as well. And I'll also get to know who all is here. Good morning, Lena. Morning, Sandhya. And if you guys are wondering why am I looking on the side, it's because I have one chat window which is showing on the other screen. So let me move it to the main screen so it doesn't look like I'm, talking in one direction and looking in the other direction. Ahan, good morning. Sanvi, good morning. Divya, morning. Sindhu from Teddy Daycare, an activity center from Whitefield. Hi, fellow Bangalore friends, and Sindhu. Sarita. Hi, Jyoti. It's good to see you here. Ankita, good morning. There are a few more people in the waiting room. Let me just allow them in. Everybody's audio is going to be on mute, so that just decreases the disruption. But if you want to say something, or if it feels like it might be better to hear from you, I will unmute you, and then we'll be able to have a discussion. All right. Oh, a lot of people said hello, hello. Let me just scroll up. Chitas, good morning. Balwinder Kaur, good morning. Harshita, Rama is unable to hear the audio. Okay, that's not good. Uh, Let me just make sure. Is everybody else able to hear me? Rama, do you want to see if the audio output on your end needs to be modified? It looks like other people are able to hear me. Um, I have my co-presenter from Stepping Stones as well, Shilpa and Amrita. So, Shilpa, if you could just chat with Rama on the side to make sure that we are able to get this resolved, that would be really, really wonderful. Thank you. Subhatra, good morning. Anamika, special educator from New Beginnings, Bangalore. Wonderful, another Bangalore friend. Sridevi, namaste. Shamala from Mudpie Preschool, very nice. Where is Mudpie? Shamala, I would love to hear that. Ria Rastogi, 19-year-old special educator from Delhi. Great, Ria. I am originally from Delhi, so it is wonderful to have a Delhi person here as well. Comdeal, good morning. Deepu from Comdeal. Hi, Deepu. So good to see you. So wonderful. It's an honor to have Comdeal be present here. Shivani working as a preschool teacher and a special educator. Looking forward to this session. Oh, I hope Shivani, this is actually, I hope you're able to find some wonderful, few helpful ideas to take home with you as well. Okay. Rama, I just want to make sure that you're able to hear us. So I'm sure Shilpa is working with you on that. Who else? Who all? Karthikeyan, Dhruv. Hi, Karthikeyan from Tamil Nadu. I hope you guys are safe. Mithali, good morning. Suchitra from Red Bridges, Bangalore. Very nice. Mud pies in Bangalore. Sandhya, thank you. And you run a preschool. Wow, that's a very fun job, but it's a very tough job. I'm sure you guys are you're doing a wonderful job though. Chitra from Mangalore, welcome. Shyamala Devi and I can tell that Sandhya and Amrita are friends. That's nice. Lakshmi, developmental educator from Comdeal. Oh, wonderful. It's good to have like such a big crowd from Comdeal. Sandhya, welcome. Reva is a course coordinator from Bangalore. Very nice. Okay, Ramaya, you got it. Okay, perfect. So that makes me feel much better. There are 10 more people in the waiting room. Let me add all of them here. We are at 9:35. So once I have all these people in the all the new people who are here entered in, we can get started. There's a lot to cover. When I was putting together this presentation, I was really struggling because I wasn't sure how much can I cover in an hour and a half. So I'll try to do a good job of keeping on time. And if it feels like we are running out of time and I have a lot to cover, then I might take a call and skip to what I feel might be most relevant. So just bear with me. Mira, you are Sridevi's sister. Very nice. Good. It's like a family affair. It's a good way to spend Saturday morning. So it's like family that learns together, stays together. Okay. Ravitra Rao is saying I can't hear the audio. Shilpa, would you be able to just keep track of the chat? I want to get started. So I am going to move the chat window on the side where I can't see the chat window that much. Okay. Every so often I'll have to just go in and admit people in. And Shilpa, Ravindra is not able to hear the audio. So if you can just make sure that that is also resolved, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. It is absolutely fantastic to have such an awesome crowd of professionals, teachers, therapists, and service providers. A lot of you are administrators running your own school, and I feel quite privileged and honored to be able to talk about basics of behavior management. It's a very important topic, and the more we talk about it, it feels that it's never enough. A little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Geetika Agarwal. You can call me Geetika. I am a psychologist and a behavior analyst by training. I'm also an associate director at Stepping Stone Center. We are located at Martha Halli in Bangalore. Some of you might be familiar with where we are. If not, then just check out our website and that is where we will be. All right, moving ahead. So our learning objectives for today, we'll talk about what is a problem behavior. How do we all understand problem behavior? Why do we see a problem behavior? And then I want to introduce a 5-step model of analyzing problematic behavior. Me along with a colleague of mine, we developed this model. It's called IDMAT, and I'll show you what it is. But we figured that this was the easiest way to help conceptualize or help understand problem behavior, from start to finish. Then along the way, while we are discussing the model of behavior, we will talk about functions of behavior, and all of this might seem technical, so don't worry too much about the technicalities. I've tried to keep the presentation very simple, but if at the same time it seems that it is getting too technical, I'm very happy to pause and go over. All right, then I want to make sure that you guys are able to understand and identify functions, and then at the end be able to develop interventions or strategies on how to manage these problem behaviors. Okay, a little bit of a housekeeping. This is an hour and a half webinar. We'll try and take a break around 45 minutes. If not, we can keep going. It's totally up to everybody. There will be a certificate of attendance for everyone who has registered for this webinar. I will give out 3 codes along the way. So one in the middle, one in the beginning, and one at the end. Once we are all done, we'll share a Google form for you to enter those codes. Once you enter those codes, we will receive your information along with an email, and then we'll send you a certificate of attendance. So make sure that you're writing down those codes, because that is going to be required to verify the attendance. Along the way, it's a very dense discussion, so I've tried to keep it a little interactive. There will be some ongoing polls in the Zoom. Every so often, I'm going to pause and just, ask you guys to chat your responses in the windows to make sure that we are all staying tuned and able to share our ideas. Also, towards the end, we are going to be sharing some more upcoming webinar. This is the second webinar in our series. And then enter any questions that you might have in the chat window. As I was mentioning, Amrita and Shilpa, my colleagues from Stepping Stone Center, are keeping track. So if there's any issue with the audio, Shilpa is going to be addressing it. And either of them, feel free to, pause and let me know if there's something that needs to be addressed. And then, of course, at the end, we'll have your feedback form, ongoing, ideas, supports, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I got to know a little bit about everybody, but I want to test out the polls. So, okay, I'm going to launch a poll, and if you guys can see it on your screen, go ahead and put in your responses. It says, tell us a little bit about ourselves. So it will tell us who we are, and I'll share these results. And then also, it's a good way for us to test out the polling mechanism, make sure that we know how to use it. If there's any glitches, we can address it. And fantastic. So there are 37 responses, and we have 54 of us, and one more. Looks like Ravindra might be having a little trouble with the audio. Okay, we have moved with the slides. I want to make sure if can you just type in the chat window and let me know if you can see my slide. It says welcome, tell us about yourself, Zoom poll 1. Just let me know yes, no. Again, I want to make sure that everybody is on track, no technical issues. Okay, excellent, perfect, good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, there you go. We got almost everybody. I'm gonna end the poll here, and let me share the results. It's always fun to see who all we are. So it looks like we got lots of teachers here. Welcome, special welcome. My mom was a teacher, so teachers always have a very, very special place in my heart. Lots of parents, administrators, therapists, special educators. Very nice. So it looks like we are a very good mix and a very balanced mix, and perfect setting for us to be talking about behavior management. Okay, so I try to do something unique. Instead of having a conventional agenda, I thought I will keep it a little interesting. This is a screenshot from Candy Crush, the game that we've all played at some point. And I drew a map, or like a path that we are going to follow in our presentation today. So this is my little candy, and we're going to start with our journey on behavior, problem behavior, our model, functions, interventions, and then of course, we'll get to the big prize, which is our certificate and learning and all of that. So yeah, I thought it'll be nice to have something a little fun. So this is our roadmap for today. Every so often I'll come back and refresh on this slide so that we are all oriented on where we are and how much our progress we have made. All right, so okay, I found this to be, there you go. Okay, before we start, this is your code number 1, identify. So remember, for your certificate of attendance, you have to write down the 3 codes I will be sharing with you. Your first code is identify. It can be in uppercase or lowercase. Yeah, I just want to pause on this slide for 30 seconds or so. Make sure everybody's gotten this code. It is identify. Okay, excellent. Now let's first understand what is behavior before we actually start to understand what is a problematic behavior. So the way we understand behavior is essentially any action of a living organism, which means that if there was something which a dead person can do, it would not be considered a behavior. If it was something that an inanimate object can do, it would not be considered a behavior. So essentially, it has to be an action that has to be performed by a living organism. Now, there are 2 kinds. There are some behaviors that we are born with. For example, reflexes. So eye blinking, sneezing, any kind of a pain aversion or behaviors that we engage in to reduce any kind of a pain. So those are behavior that we are born with, or what we call as an innate behaviors. And then we have a second set of behaviors that we broadly refer to as taught or learned behavior. So these are behaviors that can be changed by the consequences. So these are the behaviors that we can shape. These are behaviors we can increase. These are behaviors that we can decrease. So some of the examples can be, clapping hands when asked, telling names. So when I was asking you to introduce yourself to the group, that would be a form of a learned behavior. When I was asking you guys to put in your responses in a poll, that would be a learned behavior. And when we're talking about kids, labeling colors, attending seminar is a learned behavior, sitting with peers, sharing toys. So they can take on many forms. And within that, we know that there are behavior that can then be adaptive, meaning those are behaviors that what we might call as appropriate or helpful behaviors. And then there are some that are maladaptive behavior, which is what leads us to the whole category of problem behavior or inappropriate behavior or disruptive behaviors and whatnot. So both adaptive and maladaptive behavior serves a function for an individual, meaning that when we engage in something appropriate, it is usually serving a purpose for us. When we are engaging in a maladaptive or a problematic behavior or inappropriate behavior, that also serves a function or that also serves a purpose. So today what we're going to do is focus on the maladaptive behaviors, try to learn how do we identify this purpose, what are various kinds of functions or various kind of purposes, and then how do we develop a strategy to intervene and make it function based. Okay. So you remember I was talking about a 5-step model, we call it IDMAT. It basically starts with identification, definition, measurement, analysis, and treatment. So we will go through each 5 of those circles. And as we go from, one circle to the other, I'll try and give as many examples from the school settings and also from home settings. And then also every so often I'm going to ask if you are able to give your own examples. So my goal and objective is to make this as applicable for you as possible. All right, so let's first start about identification. It might seem quite intuitive or like a common sense, like, what is identifying problem behavior? So let's see, what does it really mean? Okay, I'm going to start with video number 1, and then I want you to chat. Once we are done watching this video, I want you to identify what is the problem behavior. Okay, I'm going to pause on this one. So what is, let's identify the problem behavior. And again, I'm going to look at the chat window. I'm going to bring it here in front of me. So attention seeking, tantrum. Tantrum is a behavior. Yeah, seems like a meltdown. Attention seeking, baby needs attention. Okay, so we are getting to purpose, right? We're talking about purpose, but our job, what was the question? The question was identify the behavior. So crying is a behavior. Yeah. Flopping, very good. Crying, tantrum, rolling on the ground, very good job being specific, Swati. That was very good. Crying, rolling, okay, good. So demand for need satisfaction, yeah, again, so we're getting to purpose. But the question here is, let's identify the behavior. Okay, so this was a very good. Meltdowns, very good. Maladaptive, yeah, it's a maladaptive behavior. Crying, okay. Now let's look at video number 2. So remember, what we want to do is identify the behavior and not think so much about what might be the purpose or what might be the reason behind it. Okay, so this one is more in a classroom setting, and this gentleman in the black t-shirt is a teacher, and then there are a few students. So again, look at the behavior and identify the behavior. Okay.
All right, let's review our American history. Where did the Boston Tea Party occur?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Very good, very good. Okay. Let's see. Who were the Axis powers in World War II?
The Nazis and the Italians.
And?
Yeah, watch.
No, they're not part of the Axis.
The Japanese.
Hey, Dan, pay attention. Okay, this is going to be on the test. Very good. Who were the Allies in World War II?
England, France. Americans.
Okay. Any more? A few more. Okay, we did French.
Oh.
Yes.
Greece.
Like north of us. Hey, Dan! Stop that! Don't be disruptive. Canadian, yes, very good. All right, and what about Vietnam?
It was the Americans and the
Hey, Dan! Sit down! I'm tired of this.
Okay, so again, the exercise is identify the behavior, not the reason for why he or she might, or he might be engaging in this, in this behavior. So identify what behavior should we be focusing at. Distractions, unable to focus in the class, playful, hyper. Discipline seems to be distracting. Something is inappropriate, not interested in the classroom activity, disturbing peers, attacking peers, not answering. Very good, Ashita, being so specific. Impulsive, yeah. The boy is not interested. Is it possible to zoom the video? Oh, Dhruva, next time I'm just seeing this. Next time I'm going to try and have the video zoomed in a little bit. But if you're on a phone or an iPad, I think it'll let you do that too. Okay, not sitting, not interested, restless, fidgeting. Very nice. So, okay, excellent. So you guys are already thinking about behavior, right? So think about your own behavior of identifying. In our first video, we were thinking more about seeking attention. So we were going and looking more at the purpose. But with a quick feedback, now we have suddenly shaped our behavior of identifying what the behavior is. And now we know that we are not saying that, he's bored. We are saying he's disturbing his peers, he's falling off his chair, he's throwing the books, he's sitting up or sitting down, not listening. Very nice. Okay. Ooh, all right, perfect. Very nice. That was excellent, you guys. So what is the problem behavior? It is so many things. Just in the 2 videos that we saw, it is being disruptive, property disruption, being rude, not following rules, being disrespectful, misbehaving in the classroom. So they're all different kinds of problem behavior. So we define and describe problem behaviors in various ways. Now, some of these behaviors we've all engaged in, some of these behaviors might be engaging in now, where we might be watching the webinar and then also doing something else together. But what makes a behavior problematic? One of the few things that makes a behavior problematic is when it interferes in the learning or when it interferes in the progress of a child. The other thing that makes it problematic is if it creates an unsafe environment, either for the child or either for people in his environment, for other children in the house, for other students in the classroom. It becomes problematic. Also, if you're spending too much time just with one child in the classroom, as opposed to 20 or 30 other kids in the classroom, we can say that something is off, something is problematic. Because essentially it all comes down to, how much are we able to maximize in terms of learning, how much are we able to maximize the kids' time efficiently in the classroom. So whenever we find that there is any kind of a disturbance in the balance, we say that the behavior is problematic. And one of the ways, or one of the few ways in which generally people say or people reason about problematic behavior is they might say that Rahul engages in problem behavior. It could be because of any kind of a mental or an emotional disorder, or it is because he has some kind of a developmental disability, or they might think about other variables, say, for example, a recent move in the household, or a change in a city location, change in the household structure. So the grandparent moved in, grandparent moved out, separation of the parents. So these are some ways in which we reason the problematic behavior. Now, what we have to understand is, for us to understand why a behavior developed, we have to understand what the behavior is and how it is learned and how to change it. So essentially, that's the reason why we need to understand reasoning. Now, some of the ways in which we understood this behavior, one of the limitation is that we kind of find ourselves being stuck in a chicken and an egg situation. So what comes first? For example, we might say that Rahul has autism. Now, because Rahul has autism, we explain all his behavior. So we say because he has autism, that is why he is not able to connect with people. That is why there is language delay. Other times, if people were to ask, or other parents might ask that, hey, he's not able to connect with people socially, there's also language delay. So you might say, oh, okay, because he has all these things, that's why he probably has autism. So we kind of get stuck in this loop that we keep justifying or identifying labels to make sense of the behavior we are seeing, but we are never really able to find a solution for it, because we are so we kind of get stuck in this circular reasoning. So today we're going to try and break this reasoning and actually move more towards identifying an actual function and then develop a function-based behavior, because having an autism diagnosis may not always give us a solution, or having no diagnosis but still having problematic behavior again may not give us some solution. So we have to be thinking more about behavior management, and not just limit ourselves to getting a diagnosis. Okay, so we did a great job with identification of the behavior. The next step is for us to be able to label it. So if you're a couple of teachers in a classroom or in a school, how do you define or how do you share with other teacher, what do you mean when you talk about tantrums, or what do you mean that he's being disruptive, which is what I mean by definition. So why do we need to have a broad definition? Essentially, it allows us to be objective, meaning when I say that Rahul, again, I don't know why I'm picking on Rahul, but Rahul is having a tantrum, I should be more specific. So I might say that, when he's having a tantrum, it's usually he will cry a lot and he will just go and sit at the corner of the classroom and he just refuses to move. So by describing it objectively, I am giving it a definition. Similarly, we want our definition to be somewhat measurable. So when I say that, he's having a very bad tantrum, what does that mean? Very bad can mean a occurrence of a daily for somebody, or even a once a week occurrence can mean very bad for a person. So when we give it some kind of a quantity, we are being measurable. So I could say that Rahul is crying on a daily basis, which becomes my definition of a tantrum. The other very important aspect is it has to be somewhat observable, which means can I see it? Which means when I say that, when Rahul gets sad, he throws a tantrum and it is very bad. Although it is some form of description, it is not very objective, it is not very measurable, and it is not very observable. but I can incorporate all these features by saying that I think when Rahul is sad, I think he will put his full head down. That's how now I know that he's sad, and he'll start to cry, and it is happening on a daily basis, which is why it is a cause of concern. Now, as a teacher, if you were to report this to a parent, they will have a very clear picture of what do you mean when you say sad? What do you mean that, he's having a bad day? Or what do you mean that he's having a tantrum? Similarly, as a parent, if you were to be objective in your description, give some form of a quantity or a measure in your description, and then also give the teacher something measurable or something objective, it allows all of you to be on the same page. Then we know what does tantrum look like. So you remember the first video that we saw, there was a lot of rolling. So a lot of people were writing rolling in the chat, or crying, right? So those were common threads. Upset is kind of like sad. What does upset look like? So these are some things that we should keep in mind whenever we are thinking about having a definition. So three things: objective, measurable, and observable. All right, moving along. So let's watch a video, and it's a video of a girl who is in a toy store, and I think the video, I put it on a large screen, so hopefully everybody should be able to see it clearly. From what we have just learned about definitions, I want you to watch this video and see if some of you would like to take or practice writing a definition. So the three things that we talked about was objective, measurable, and let me just go back to that slide so you guys can review it one more time. So objective, measurable, and observable. Okay, so here you go. I'm starting the video now.
Sweetie, we're not getting a toy right now. Put that down, okay? Put that down. Let's get ready to go bye-bye. Do you need a toy, really? Put that down. I know, but Grandma Mom's gonna get you a toy later. Let's put that down, okay? Oh my goodness. Let's put that down now. Put that down, Lily. Come on, Lily. Put that down. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. We'll pick a toy from the front of the store. I know, but we'll get a toy from the front of the store. Look how big London's being. He's such a big boy. And what do you be? A baby. You don't want to be a baby? Well, then put your shoes on and let's get ready. We're gonna get a jack-o'-lantern. Okay, we'll get a toy later, but not right now. Get off the floor, London.
Okay. All right, let's see. I read a couple of responses. So think about the three features that we talked about. She felt bad, yeah. So Karthikeyan, when you say she felt bad, think about how we can make it objective, meaning how will I know as a fellow teacher when this girl feels bad? What does her behavior look like? Crying for the toy, yeah. So crying is a very objective way. I can see that she's crying with or without tears. Objective meaning not listening, yeah, very good. So non-compliance, she wants something, crying during the shopping, very good. So that's objective. When you do not agree to her, then she will cry, okay. So tantrum, yeah. So again, think about behavior. Let's not think about giving a reason. So when we say she has a tantrum when you don't give her what she wants, I still want to know, what does the tantrum look like? Yeah, good. Crying and screaming is very objective. So I could say that tantrum means when she's crying and screaming, or when she's whining. Very good. Difficulty in sharing her emotions. Good, Dhruv. So I think that's a good start. And I could make it more objective by saying that when she has difficulty in sharing her emotions, she will cry or she will scream, or she will go quiet, or she will start to pull on you, right? So those are some ways in which I can share objectively with a teacher or with a parent how to know when she's having difficulty expressing the emotions. Behavior is attention seeking. Yeah, very good. So now we are getting to the reason, and I want us to take a step back, that what is this behavior itself, right? So we are at the definition phase. Crying, screaming, very good, very good. Okay, I see that a lot of our behavior is getting shaped up. Very nice. I like how we're thinking about definition. Unable to express, very good. So unable to express, and hence we know that whenever they're having difficulty expressing themselves, they will throw a toy, they will start crying, and we are not able to help them transition or not able to convince them to move to the next activity. Sitting down and not getting up, very, very good, Yashi. So good. So I like how we are all starting to think about behavior in an objective manner. And the way to know is, if I and you see the behavior and can label it in the same way, that yes, both of us understand what tantrum looks like, then we know we have objectively shared the same understanding of the behavior. Not listening, very good. Tangible seeking behavior, good. So we are getting to the function. I want us to take a step back and think about, what was this behavior itself? So what was this girl's behavior? So okay, good. You know, a lot of us are on track. Very nice. So we did identification, we did definition. Right, let's do another quick poll, number 2, and let us see. I'm going to stop sharing this poll. I'm going to launch another one of the poll. And okay, the question is, which of these is not a problem behavior? So you can pick as many as you want. It's a multiple choice. So just generally, which of these do you think is not a problem behavior? So we all know what is a problem behavior. The question here is asking which is not a problem behavior. It says picking nose, hitting others, throwing toys, all of the above. Very good. Oh, lovely. I like how you guys are so quickly responding to the questions. Now, when we set problematic behavior, we said some of the reasons a behavior become problematic is if it starts to interfere in a child's or an individual's functioning. So can picking nose become problematic behavior? Can hitting others become problematic behavior? What about throwing toys? All of the above. Yeah, we got a lot of responses. We got a few more to go. Got about 77% of us who have responded. I want to wait a few more seconds. Yep, we jumped up to 82%. Yeah, I'm seeing an increase in all of the above, and I'll share the results once we're done with the poll as well. Very good. We got about a few more people, about 86%. All right, I just want to wait till we reach 90%, and then I'm going to end the poll, and we got one more. Perfect. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to end the poll and just share the results with you guys. All right, so looks like picking nose was a winner here, and I can see why. You know, we talk a lot about kids, and that may not be one of the behavior that jumps up, but picking nose can actually become a problem behavior. You know, say for example, we have an individual who wants to go get a job, and whenever he goes for an interview, he starts to pick his nose during an interview, and or he works in a restaurant, and he starts to pick his nose, right? So picking nose can become a problem behavior. It could be because of so many reasons. But remember, if it starts to interfere in a person's ability to be a fruitful member of a society, you know, it can become a problematic behavior. Similarly, hitting others, yeah, throwing toys, and all of the above. Okay, good. So whenever we are thinking about problematic behavior, let's think about how can this interfere in a person's functioning. If not, it may not be problematic. Okay, great. So we talked about behavior, we talked about problematic behavior, and we've been talking about the identification and the definition. And now we're going to move into the measurement part. And for some of you who joined in a little later, this Candy Crush picture is kind of like our roadmap to where we are going to be today. Um, all right, moving along. The next is going to be the measurement. uh, I thought I will keep the measurement section a little simpler and not give a lot of detail, because we don't, in home setting or in our school settings, typically a lot of measurement is not required, and a simple measurement can make do. But if you are interested in getting to know more about measurement, get in touch with us later on, and we can talk more about it. Okay, why measure? Why do we want to measure this child's tantrum that we saw in the store? Why do we want to measure the crying that we saw? Why did we want to measure, Dan, who was in the classroom? Why did we want to measure his behavior? We do this because we want to have a very objective documentation. It should not be based on what I think. It should not be based on what Shilpa might think. It might not be based on somebody else's opinion. It is a true and clear objective representation of what is really going on. Also, when we measure, it makes it very easy for us to analyze that behavior. We are also able to evaluate an outcome. For example, we measure the behavior, we put in some strategies in place, and then we continue to measure. Then we can actually truly demonstrate that our strategies were effective. Also, when we measure, it helps us communicate. Think about whenever we get a blood test done, we take the report to the doctor, he looks at it. Then you take the same report to another doctor, he looks at the same report. So what is happening is an objective variable of your body has been documented, and it is helping you communicate with so many doctors. Similarly, you're able to talk to the clinicians, pediatricians, parents, teachers, speech therapists, occupational therapists. So it functions a lot in a lot of ways. That is why we want to be able to measure it. Now, you could keep a count, just do a simple count or durations. But it's important to have some kind of a measure of the behavior. Okay, now this is where we get into the majority of our workshop today, which is going to be on analysis and also on treatment. So I want you guys to keep your thinking cap on. It's a little involved and a little dense material, so I'm going to pause along the way and make sure everybody's is following along. So now we will learn how to analyze a problem behavior so that we can understand what is the reason for why the child is engaging in either crying or falling on the floor. How do we identify those functions? What are various ways in which we can identify the functions so that we can actually get to some strategies and treatments? Okay, now what is the function? What do we mean by function, or the reason, or the motivation? So essentially, this is what it means. Why are we engaging in our current behavior? Why is it that I am presenting a webinar? What is my motivation? What is my reason? What is your reason to be sitting and attending my webinar? Why is the child falling on the floor? Why was the girl crying? So that is what I mean when I say function. What are her reasons? What is the motivation? And we all have our own reasons and motivations, and we select one behavior over the other. So think about traffic rules. In some cities we are better at following traffic rules. In other cities, maybe not so much. We are the same people, our driving skills stay the same, but our behavior is altered, so our motivation has been altered. Coming to work, completing the jobs. A lot of you are here on the webinar today, so there's a clear motivation. Similarly, think about the same idea and the same philosophy, and we apply it to a child's problematic behavior. So the basic premise that we always follow is that the solution to the child's problematic behavior is attainable. But we have to first understand the why, or we have to first understand the function or the reason. And once we know that, it makes it so much easier for us to then fix what might be going on. Okay. As we start to understand the function, I want to introduce the two ideas. Reinforcement. Really quickly, I know a lot of you are already teachers and special educators, so I don't want it to be a redundant information. I will keep this short. Reinforcement is anything that we provide or take away that will increase my future behavior. So if you attend a webinar and I give you a candy, and in future you attend my webinar more and more, then I have reinforced your behavior. Similarly, if you attend my webinar and I take away your paper grading, in future you are more likely to attend my webinar. That is also reinforcement. Okay, so the key of reinforcement is that it should increase the behavior of interest. If it is not doing so, then there is something that we are missing in the reinforcement. Now, just the opposite is punishment. So the punishment should be decreasing our behavior. So every time you come late to the webinar, I don't give you certificate of attention. In future, you don't come, you are on time, so your tardiness is decreased. That's a punisher. I'll never do that, so it's a bad example. But anytime we are focusing to reduce a behavior, and that is what we would call as a punishment. Okay, all right, I know this was too much, so think about reinforcement as increasing and punishment as decreasing. And I want to have a quick poll. I want to make sure that everybody is on board and understands this. So reinforcement, what does reinforcement do? If you can just quickly select over here, reinforcement dash the behavior and punishment dash the behavior. Okay, yeah, because this is the key. If I'm able to be confident that we are on the same page, I'll feel much happy about it. Okay, very good, very nice. Increases, decreases. Okay, good. We got 75%. Most everybody is very quick at responding on this. You guys are such a great attendees. You are all reinforcing my poll giving behavior because I keep giving you guys polls. Okay, I'm at 89%. The minute I lead at 90, I am going to end the poll. So that's like my objective criteria, otherwise it takes forever. All right, I think we've got it. I'm going to share the results. Excellent. So fantastic, you guys have excellent understanding. So reinforcement or reinforcers increases the behavior, increases the future behavior, and punishment decreases the future behavior. Very good, excellent. So now that we have this established, let's move to the next criteria. Great job, you guys, fantastic. Okay, now here is where we are going to talk about the functions or the reason. Again, I don't want you guys to really worry about writing everything. At the end, I'll share a very succinct handout with you guys so that you're able to understand and keep track of or have a documentation of this. Now, when we are talking about reinforcement or reward, think about a scenario where you're talking on the phone, or you're talking to another student, and our child will say Rahul again. There is a lack of attention as an antecedent. He throws the pencil away, and then suddenly we go and we tell him that, Rahul, that was a bad thing to do. You're not supposed to do that. Why did you throw the pencil? Go pick it up. You were being a bad boy. Go sit in the corner. So what we gave him was a lot of attention. In a home scenario, it can be the same thing. The child, we are talking on the phone, or we are not paying them any attention, and then the child might throw something, might climb furnitures, might climb a chair, engage in some kind of unsafe behavior, and then suddenly everybody in the house is paying attention to that child, even if it is to give him scolding or whatnot. But at the end, his objective was attained, which is that he got attention. So attention is one of the functions that we evaluate, and attention is one of the functions that we look for. The other is what we would call as items or tangibles, meaning that the child is engaging in problematic behavior because he wants access to something in the environment, or he wants more of what he already has, or he does not want to transition and wants to stay with his preferred Lego or preferred TV show, or something similar. So the child, if there are two kids, one of them wants to play with something, he might push the other sibling, and the parent might come and say that, all right, fine, you can have it, let him play, or some kind of a negotiation where eventually he's able to, or the child is able to get access to his puzzle or the toy or any kind of an item that might be. So what are the two functions that we're talking about here? Attention and tangible. All right, there are totally in four that we'll discuss. These are the two. The third is what we call about escape, escaping from any kind of a demand. And a lot of therapists will probably relate to this, when you present, when they're learning new stuff or when they're learning hard demands, which are difficult to perform independently, any kind of an escape or changes in demand, any kind of a delay in demand, right? Those are all forms of escape. So you say that, all right, touch apple, and they fall off the chair, or they scream, or they engage in any other tantraumatic behavior, and we say, okay, fine, go sit in your quiet chair and then you'll come back. So what has happened? We've given them escape. So that was a third function. So we talked about attention, meaning the child is engaging in a problematic behavior to get attention. Whether it is a good attention or a bad attention, it doesn't matter. Sometimes just scolding itself is quite reinforcing. The other was tangibles or items, or wanting something preferred or wanting longer of what they already have. Third is escaping from demands. The fourth one is what we would call as automatic or self-reinforcing, or and this is what you might see in children who might have developmental disabilities, for example, any kind of a stimming or repetitive behavior, hand flapping. So we hypothesize that the behavior itself is reinforcing, that itself is stimulating. Think about scratching as a response. Whenever we have a sensation to scratch, we'll just engage in the scratching behavior, and that's it. Nobody has to say, good job scratching, I like how you were scratching, here is a token for scratching, right? Because the relief that we receive by scratching itself is reinforcing. Similarly, pain attenuation. So whenever we are engaging in a behavior that reduces the pain, it could be taking medicines. Sometimes kids might engage in head banging or hitting themselves because it could be that they're in pain, and that's how they might be able to relieve some kind of a pain. So that is what we would call as automatic. Okay, so just to summarize, that we are talking about attention as a function, we are talking about escape from demands as one of the functions, we are also talking about gaining access to items, we are also talking about self-reinforcing. Now in real world, as much as we would like for all these functions to be, or reasons to be, very clean, oftentimes they are not, which means that a child could have multiple functions at the same time. The child could have a different function with different individuals. So with mother, they might have a different function or a different reason. With therapists, they might have a different reason. So we always have to keep that in mind, that these functions are dynamic and they can also be diverse. Okay, before we do another poll on function, let me just quickly look at the chat window. I know there's a few long questions and I want to make sure I'm able to address the ones that are relevant, and the others I will keep for later if it seems they might be a better fit. How do you differentiate reinforcement and bribe and not let it go out of hand? For example, continuously increase expectation of reinforcement from child. Yeah, this is a good one, right? Because reinforcement is always something that one of the ways in which I think about reinforcement and bribe is reinforcement is typically is planned. We know that we say, okay, once you do this and then you get that, as opposed to in a bribe, the child might already be in a problematic behavior and then we start to offer them incentives. That is one way. The other is, a bribe does not really guarantee whether or not the child will engage in what we want him to do, or they may not complete our demand. Whereas reinforcement is essentially set up so that if you engage or you do what I ask you to do, you get what you want. And in our natural environment, we go give a bribe to a government officer or to a person and say, hey, can you do this to me? Do me a favor. Here, I will give you a bribe. There really may or may not be a guarantee for whether or not my job might get done. So that is one difference that we have between reinforcement and bribes. We want to set it up before the child is engaging in problematic behavior or before there is any kind of an issue, so their expectations are clear, Two, those are only delivered once the child has actually done what we have asked him to do, right? As opposed to bribe, where he may get it irrespective. Ria, yes, you're right. Reinforcement can be negative and positive. So when you give them something that they like, that becomes a positive reinforcement. You have added something that they want. Negative reinforcement is when you've taken away something they don't like, but you've still increased the behavior. Now, if the reinforcement, it is called reinforcement only if it increases the behavior. Reinforcement will not decrease. So whether it is a negative reinforcement or a positive reinforcement, it has to increase the behavior. Actually, Ravindra Dipanka is my brother, so we are logged in from our associates account. So yeah, my name is Gitika. I thought I'll let you know. Yes, Sunday, you had the same question. Okay, glad. I hope that answers the question. And Ria, I hope the negative reinforcement and the positive reinforcement was also clarified. So negative reinforcement is not the same as punishment. Punishment is only intended to reduce the problematic behavior. Another way to understand negative reinforcement is, you take away something that people don't like to do based on a good behavior, right? So everybody has a great attendance and great participation. So I might say, all right, you go guys, don't have to do this additional task. Or if I have a lot of students in my class, they all completed their assignment on time and nobody needed an extension. So I might say, great, now I will give you a pass. You don't have to complete one more assignment. Or if everybody completed their homework on time, then I might say, great, everybody did the homework on time and there was no delays or late assignments. I'll give you half day off. You can go play in the playground or whatever, right? So Madhubala, I hope that answers the question. So we are still wanting to increase the behavior, but what makes it negative is because we have taken away something that is aversive or that they really don't like. Okay, doing task to stop nagging. Well, what are we trying to increase there? Are we trying to increase the task doing behavior? So, okay, good. So that answers the question. Perfect. All right, I feel like I think there are a couple of attention questions. We'll come back to that. All right, so here's another exercise. I know we talked about 4 functions. I want us to look at these videos and see if we can identify these functions. I'm going to launch another poll here. We'll probably do 1 or 2 videos, depending upon how everybody feels. We got 30 minutes and got lots of intervention to go through. So, okay, I have started the poll here and I will start the first video, which is the lunch scene. All right, hang on a second. Let me end the poll, start the video, and then I'm going to relaunch the poll. Wait, looks like I'm having a little bit of an issue with my videos. Sorry, guys. All right, let me just get to these videos in another way, and I'll show it to everybody. Thank you for waiting so patiently. Okay. Can you guys just let me know what is it that you can see on, you will see the first video and then again launch the poll. Yeah. Can you just let me know what is it that you're able to see on the screen so I can actually show what I need to show? Thank you for waiting so patiently. The 2 videos, okay. And none of them are playing, so no worries about that. We will just get to it.
All right, let's review.
All right, when you got so many videos of disruption, it just seems like there's a lot of crying going on. Yeah, let's do screen number 4. I'm going to launch poll 4. The issue is it is based on the videos, so I just have to make sure that I can show you guys the videos. And then, yes, I think I found it. I thought I did reattach these videos, but it looks like I did not, or it just did not work quite well. Okay. I will share the video screen. Let me know if everybody can see it. So it will be a little bit of a switching of one video to another video, but let me know if you're able to see it. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to play this video. It's set up in a cafeteria, and there are a bunch of, you know, looks like middle school, high school kids. So watch this video, and I will go to the poll, and then we are going to look at the poll. All right, here you go.
Hey, Jenny, I'll trade you some of my chips for having that sandwich. Hey, Emily, what's up? Hey, guys, want a cookie? I got plenty. Who said you could eat at my table, cow? I thought cows ate grass. Don't you know it's rude to read at the table? Hello? Jackass. Excuse me? Oh man, I'm being punished for cruelty to animals.
Okay, I'm going to quickly switch the screens now and launch our poll. So based on this video, the first one, the lunch scene. Let's go ahead. Poll 3 relaunch, continue. Okay, so identify the function, the lunch scene. So go ahead and tell me, what do you think was the function of that girl's behavior? You know, who was wearing the tank top. And are you guys able to see the poll? Yes. Okay, excellent. So what was the function, meaning what was the reason for why she started, you know, why is it that she started, you know, calling the other student, you know, names, and why was it that she was being disruptive and using disrespectful language? Initially, it seemed like It seemed like nobody was paying her, she was trying to initiate interaction, but nothing was really happening. And then suddenly things seemed to change. Yeah, there are two video questions. I only wanted to answer the first one. So we got one person who answered. I don't know if that is because people are not able to see the poll, or there's a technical difficulty. I think I might have it. We might be set for the next one. Okay, says the submit button is not enabled. Oh, I wonder if that is because you have to see all the functions before you can answer it. Oh, okay. I didn't think about that too far ahead. Okay, well, let's type in. What do you think was the function of the behavior? Let's not worry about the poll at this point. So I see Dhruv said attention. And then I had also heard one more person say attention, attention. Attention and escape. I'd like to know more about that. Demand, Sandhya. Okay, we can probably talk about that. Attention. All right. So for a couple of folks, who were talking about attention, there's a lot of attention. Yeah. So the function for her behavior was attention. So if you remember when she started talking to her peers, by saying hello, they were not really listening to her. But the minute she started using, disrespectful language towards the other peer, they all started laughing at her. They all started, paying attention to her. So even if she was being mad or she was being mean, she was still getting her peers' attention. And we see that a lot in a classroom setup where, for example, we have a child who's always running around, and the other students in the class start to laugh at him, or they make a laughing stock out of him. Then that child is getting a lot of attention just by his peers, and we might think that he doesn't want to do his work, or he's just being mad because he's trying to annoy the teachers. But it could be that he's actually really getting a lot of attention from his friends or from his peers, and that is why he is acting the way he is, right? So this is an important function for us to remember, especially in a classroom setup when we have so many individuals, or when we have so many people who respond to our behavior. All right. Excellent. So I like how you're all thinking, and we'll talk a little bit more about demand. All right. So while we were watching that video, I'd reattached this one. So I hope it works. It seems like a positive reinforcement. In fact, peers enjoyed when she made fun of the girls that came. Yes, and there you got it spot on. Absolutely. So there was a positive reinforcement because peer's attention was added. Peer was giving attention to her when she was using disrespectful language. So her use of disrespectful language increased and increased and increased. Okay. So think about what is increasing. If it is increasing, that means there is reinforcement. All right, now let's look at this video, and I want you to focus on this child who's in a blue t-shirt and the teacher's interaction, and we will identify what is the reason for his problem behavior. Okay, pay attention, please.
Please, class, for the next 20 minutes, work on your journals.
So the teacher just said,
Can I do mine at the computer?
There's really no time, Mason. Maybe another time.
But Carla got to use the computer last time.
That was for a different project, Mason. Now get started on your journal.
Okay, you guys can't see the screen. That's not fun. Let's change that. Thank you for giving me that feedback. I'm going to share my screen, and exactly, you guys couldn't see it because I had not shared it. I was still on the old one. Okay, this one should be better. I will start again. I'm glad we caught it early on. Okay.
Please, class, for the next 20 minutes, work on your journals.
Can I do mine at the computer?
There's really no time, Mason. Maybe another time.
But Carla got to use the computer last time.
That was for a different project, Mason. Now get started on your journal.
It's
It's not fair. You never let me use the computer. You let everyone else use it but me.
All right, Mason. You may work at the computer, but please hurry up.
Okay. Well, first, how many of us can relate to this scenario? You know, say you hate me, you never give me what I want, or you only give stuff to, you know, elder brother, elder sister. Okay, so what was the reason? What was the reason for Mason's being angry? You know, the teacher said, everybody work on your journals, and Mason said, I want to work on the computer. And then teacher said, nope, you know, maybe later. And then Mason said, no, I want it now. You never listen to me. You never give me my computer, or you give it to everybody else. So, and he wanted access to his computer. So he wanted access to his item, right? So he was okay to do the demand that the teacher had said, right? He didn't say, I don't want to do it. He said, I want to do it on a computer. Wanted something he preferred. Very good. Sumaya, you got that right. Tangible, very good. Demand for an object or Ravindra, very good. You got it. He wanted something. He was okay. He said, yep, sure, I'll finish it, but I need my computer. And then he threw a little bit of a tantrum. And then teacher said, fine, you can have your computer. Okay, let's watch this video one more time, guys. And I want you to focus on wanting something. Harshita, you got it right. So wanting something, let's watch it one more time. Okay, he's okay to do his demands. He's not wanting to change his demand, but he wants something. So let's watch it again and let's pick on it one more time.
Please, class, for the next 20 minutes, work on your journals.
Can I do mine at the computer?
There's really no time, Mason. Maybe another time.
But Carla got to use the computer last time.
That was for a different project, Mason. Now get started on your journal.
It's not fair. You never let me use the computer. You let everyone else use it but me.
All right, Mason. You may work at the computer, but please hurry up.
Okay, what do you think about, what do you think now? Does he want to not do the work, or does he want the computer and he wants to do the work on a computer? It could be both, but what do you think seems to be the primary wants item? Nikita said, yeah, he wants computer. So Maya wants something preferred. He wants what others get. So he wants something. Yeah, he wants a computer. Good. So tangible, right? He wants to finish his work on the computer. Very good. Computer. Yeah, good. So we're all thinking about tangible. So the function here would be tangible. He wants an item. The teacher says, nope, you can't have it. And then he says, no, you never give it to me. He slams on the desk and the teacher said, okay, fine, you can go have it. And this is something that we see a lot. We see a lot in our daily life. We see a lot of this kind of interaction even in our classrooms, where a child might want to sit at a particular seat, want a particular color, want a particular pencil. And then if they're not given those items, they might have a tantrum. Sometimes they may not want, to take their bag, the school bag that they come with. They want to keep it with them. They don't want to take the shoes off, right? So they're wanting those things, then they don't want to take it off. Now, and then that leads to a problematic behavior. Okay. We're going to think about demands. A lot of you are thinking about demands, and I can understand why it might look like that. So let's watch this next video and see if you can identify. We've all looked at that crying baby, and everybody was spot on about attention as a function. So you guys have mastered that one. Okay. There's looks like I'm having videos issues again. Now, while I readjust this video, whenever you're thinking about escaping a demand, think about what kind of consequences a child is getting. If you actually modify the demand, or if you delay, when they work on their homeworks, or if you change their homework, all of those would be escape reasons or escape functions, right? But if you keep your demands the same, you don't change anything, and they're still required to do the same demands, then you have not actually had a demand function. Okay, let's look at an actual escape. All right, this is a new video. Let me know when you can see it. And I've started the video.
Hey. Class, can everyone clean up and take a seat, please? Make sure you clean up. All right, so we're going to be finishing up those math problems that we began yesterday. So remember, you're going to be doing this by yourself. So if you have any questions, ask me. So please get out a piece of paper and a pencil. And we're going to do questions 10 to 20. Okay. Distraction. Can I get Sally? Yes, but be quick, okay? Yes, very quick.
All right, is the video stuck? I'm going to play it again. It's playing on my side. Let me restart it.
Hey. Class, can everyone clean up and take a seat, please? Make sure you clean up. All right, so we're going to be finishing up those math problems that we began yesterday. So remember, you're going to be doing this by yourself. So if you have any questions, ask me. So please get out a piece of paper and a pencil. And we're going to do questions 10 to 20. Okay. Distraction. Can I get Sally? Yes, but be quick, okay? Yes, very quick. Lauren, can you go check on Sally in the bathroom, please, and bring her back here? Thank you. Okay, Sally, you have to get some work done, okay? Okay. Remember, you have 10 questions you have to do.
Okay, I'm going to pause it here. I think I want to make sure we are sensitive on the time as well. So this girl in the white t-shirt, you know, there was a homework, there was a classwork that was given, and then she asked to go to the bathroom, and then the teacher said okay, and then after some time she goes to the bath, you know, she goes and tries to engage in some other activity, basically not wanting to do the work that's been given. So when you see that, and we see that a lot in our classroom setups as well, you know, wanting to go to the nurse's office a lot, not wanting or wanting to go, you know, drink the water, finding everything else to do so that they can get out of the work that they have at hand. So escape from demands, very good. Yeah, so this is what escape would look like, right? Because what's happening is that they're actually not finishing the demand, they're actually not completing the demand. Okay, but when they had a question about positive reinforcement in the first video, the lunch video. But when the girl's reinforcer was attention to the peers, and when she engaged in disrespectful language, meaning that when she started, you know, using disrespectful language towards the other peers, and by showing her down, then all the children around her started paying attention, and then that was how it became positive reinforcement. Okay, the second code is behavior 2020, and Shilpa will also write it down on the chat window. It is behavior 2020, which is our second code. All right, I am going to move on to our intervention. So now we know what is behavior. Now we know how to identify it. We know how to talk about it with friends, peers, parents, everybody else. We know what the functions are. I'm going to move and skip how to identify the functions. I will share all of these with you in a handout because I actually want to get started with interventions. And there you go. Okay, so now if you're in a classroom setup, you've probably seen this kind of a pyramid before. You know, green is where we have children who will have very mild or no problematic behavior at all, or very, very simple, which can just be resolved by having some kind of a basic classroom management. Then there are some children, very few, who just by having good classroom management strategies, you are able to manage those. Few of them you might have to engage in some kind of a group intervention or very simple strategies. um, and then they are able to, and then you're able to get them on track, and everything is okay. But there always will be some kids up top on the red, the one who continues to have very severe needs or very high intensity needs, which is where a clinic like ours comes into picture, where we are looking more into therapy or intervention, and it is very individualized. All right, so we'll talk about the yellow strategies and a little bit about the red strategies, and a whole lot about the classroom management. Now, whenever we are trying to reduce the behavior, we want to also reduce the motivation, right? We're talking about motivation all along. So we want to eliminate the need, meaning if I reduce the need for you to get attention, then you're less likely to engage in problem behavior to get attention, right? And so I will have a lot of antecedent strategies. Then we will talk about consequences, meaning even after I have put a good environment intervention in place and my classroom structure looks good, you still continue to hit another kid, or you still continue to have problem behavior. What are some consequences I can set up in place so that I can then address those behaviors? Okay, now let's talk about antecedent. Whenever you're thinking about antecedent in your classroom setup, or this can also be used in a home setup, right? Think about the design. Does a child, if you were to give a child an assigned seating, if you gave them a marking of where they need to sit, that helps reduce a problem behavior. You make groups to facilitate organized transition. So you can say that, this group hold hands together, so that you know that this is group A, group B, group C, and it then allows you to have a little bit more of a structure where the child knows I belong to this group as opposed to the whole classroom. Having routines is very helpful. What is it that happens when you enter the classroom? What is it that happens next? Do you have those outlined in some way? Teach routines directly, meaning that when you come in, you reference what has been put up in the classroom, or what is it that you put up in the home. Especially times like these where all the kids are home, the routines are off. It can make it very difficult for them to manage themselves. So in the morning you say, okay, we're going to first do this, second we could do that, and once we are done with the first 2-3 activities, then we get to play. So you teach the routines very, very directly. You create routines for problematic times. For example, you know that you have a hard time having a child transition from play area back to the classroom. So you know that that is a problematic time. How can you create a routine, or what can steps, or what are the 4 or 5 steps that you follow consistently that will help you transition? By having this outlined, it makes it easy for you to teach the child. So you give him a 5-minute warning, or you show him some kind of a visual card to say that, listen, Rahul, when I show you the red card, that means you have 5 minutes, and then we go back to a classroom. Okay, so you have created a routine for a problematic time. How do they ask for help? Sometimes children don't know when to ask for help, so there might be a lot of meltdowns, a lot of crying, especially in preschools or with the very young kids. They may not know how to seek adult help. So teaching them teaching them specific signs for how they can actually ask for help. Expectations. What is a child's expectation in a classroom? Again, you have to post it, you have to define it, you have to teach it. We can't assume that the child will know what is respectful. We can't assume the child will know what is following routines. And then we always want to catch them being good. So if the child, you say, everybody line up, and you know that here are 4, 5, 6 kids who always quickly line up, and there's one kid who has a problem. One day he did a really good job of lining up, so you catch him being good and you reinforce it. All right, so these are all antecedents, right? These are all structures. Some of the other things that you can put into place, again, these are both for home and also for your school settings. I put in some pictures. The one on the top right hand side where it says time to do and done. This is a visual schedule from a home setting, which was created by one of our families. They have with limited access to printers and whatnot, so the mom created a very simple what is it time to do and what is done, and she labeled that here's a picture, it is puzzle, block, reading book, writing, table work, and then whenever it is done it is moved to the done area, right? So it's a very simple structure. It is visual in nature. You can also use a first then strategy. First we'll have circle time and then you can have your snack, or first we will identify, we will do the rhymes and then you can have that. Okay, having rules in your classroom or having rules in the home. So being respectful, what does it mean? Being responsible, being safe. And then you always review it with the students so that they know, and especially with younger kids, repetition is the key. When it comes to task, giving choices is awesome. Do you want to read first or do you want to color first? Do you want to finish cleaning up your cupboard today, or do you want to organize your books today, right? Giving them choice. The more choices we are able to give, even before the problematic behavior has started, we have given them some control over their own task. Prompts, right? Giving prompts ahead of time so that even before they are engaging in problematic behavior can help. um, think about how you can modify the task. If you know that organizing books is difficult, so you can modify it to say that, okay, we are only going to organize your storybooks, or we are only going to organize two shelves, or we will only fold these many clothes. So you have modified the demand, and hence you have made it easy for the child to complete those demands. Intersperse, this is more for when we are looking into those yellows and red columns, children who have more of a difficulty. So instead of giving everything that is difficult in one go, we have them do something easy, and then maybe one thing difficult, couple of things that are easy, because then it keeps their motivation and engagement going. All right, so these are all the strategies that we look at or we want to put in place even before a problem behavior has started to occur. And sometimes we have them as a first step. Other proactive positive practices are opportunities to respond. Think about currently in a home setting, what are some opportunities to respond that you can create? Patterns of giving responses. So instead of just using one word, you can have a full sentence. All the students are called on, so you can say, everybody raise your hands now, everybody do this. So you're giving opportunity to respond, and then you're able to reinforce the child. Prompts and active supervision, so reminders before the behavior has taken place. So reminder before the child falls on the floor when you're transitioning from swing to the classroom. So you could say, remember, 5-minute warning, and then once you're done, we are going to move back to the classroom. And then you describe what is expected. Even at home, when you want to transition from watching TV to no more TV time, so you could say, okay, 5 minutes, it will be time to shut off the TV, or that will be the time to shut off the iPad, right? And then you describe what is expected. One of the other very key important point is being very specific in your praise. And you do this whether you are working with a whole classroom or whether just one individual. So instead of just saying good job, so it's better to say, I like how you guys are being specific about your definitions. I like how you are so quick in giving your responses. So I'm being very specific, and when I'm being very specific, I have identified exactly what you did right, so that you know that, hey, this is what I did good, and here is what was my consequences. Okay, now in this slide, I have a bunch of visuals for you. So these are all examples. On top over here is a visual of hands to the cell, being quiet, calm body, big voice, listen to the listen the first time. So these seems to be all the rules. Here is something that is more specific for the child at the bottom, where it says, my rules at schools are, I listen to the teacher, and if I engage in any of these behavior, then I'm working for and I'll put my reinforcer. So it looks like it's some kind of a token system. Similarly, here's a token economy on top. What is it that I'm working for? Once I get all my stars, then I get my free time. I get more time on iPad. Very easy to use at homes right now. You earn, you do the chores in the house, you help around in the house, and then you can actually play with, your iPad or earn extra time on iPad. So these are all some antecedent strategies. We also have group strategies. And right now, if there are a couple of children children in a household, this can be fantastic, where you can have a group strategy for all the kids in the house. You could also include the adults in the house. So one example could be that you could say that if few students in the class are coming late, so you could say, if these kids come to the class on time, then everybody gets extra point. Or if these students are late in the class, then everybody gets extra math points, right? So what happens is, if the whole class is penalized for few children, then the classroom is probably going to say, hey, listen, can you be on time, or can you do your homework? So they might actually work as a motivator. So this is one strategy or one example of group contingency. So if the group of few students completes at least 50%, the whole class gets extra computer time. All right. The other example could be, the token system, the star system, where every person earns their own points. So if you have a sister and a brother, cousins in the house, so they all can be on their own token system. When they on their stars or their own points, then they all get to watch their favorite shows or eat their favorite chocolates. All right. The third kind is what we would call as a good behavior game, where you divide up the classroom or you divide up the household into teams. And then you can say that whichever team reaches their target first is the one that earns the point. So you could say this is a good behavior. So the reason why it is called a good behavior game is because we want to increase good behavior. So if you show more good behavior, the group which shows good behavior more than the other is the one that is the winner. And the good behavior game is very, very effective, and a lot of classrooms use it. There is a variation where the class can earn their reward. There's also a variation where a class can lose their reward. And when they have tried to evaluate which one is better, so some research says that classroom actually, some children prefer to have a contingency where they rather not lose instead of earning. So, but we always try to keep it positive. So this is another group strategy that you can use, what we call as a group behavior game. Okay. So this was all antecedent. So before, how can we reduce or minimize the probability of having problematic behavior? Now I want you to think about the kids who are in the red zone. So usually 1 to 2% of the children who might be having some kind of a developmental delays, might be in need of some intensive therapy, or any kind of a generalized system is not working for them, and we need to have something that is more intensive and which is more specific to them. And now we're going to think more about consequences. Okay. So, okay, perfect. So this is the time for code number 3. So remember, we had 3 codes for you to get your certificate of attendance. The second code was behavior 2020. The first code was identify. So identify behavior 2020, and code 3 is of behavior. And Shilpa will type this in the chat window as well, so that I can continue on with our interventions. All right. Thank you, guys. Perfect. So now here, this is more intensive intervention, where few children will need these intensive interventions. So keep that perspective in mind. It might not seem that it is applicable to the whole classroom, but a lot of what we discussed before is applicable. This is more specific. Now, if we are thinking about attention, a child wanting attention, how can we work on specific strategies? And how can we reinforce some good behaviors? So raising hand can be one example. So we might say that every time you want to talk to me, I want you to raise your hand. And every time the child raises the hand, we reinforce it by giving them attention. The waving is another one, tapping on the shoulder, or if the child is non-verbal, using some kind of a sign, or if they're using a device and using or having some kind of an assistive device, and having teaching them how to use their assistive device to ask for attention. We want to reward no aggression and disruption with extra time with the adults, meaning when they are actually engaging in good behavior, or when they're just not being disruptive, right? Then we go in and we give them a lot of attention. Use some kind of a token board to visually show what kind of reward are they working for. You want to differentially reinforce other appropriate behavior. So anytime the child is not engaging in screaming or inappropriate behavior, we want to reinforce that. So you remember, catch them being good, so you reinforce by giving a lot of your attention when they are being appropriate or when they're not engaging in bad behavior. Now, the other important thing is, you want to ignore the behavior but not the child, meaning, you still want to keep track of what the child is doing, but we don't want to give a lot of attention. We want to wait when that child problematic behavior has reduced, and then we give them our good attention. So this is specific to when we know that the reason is attention, right? Okay, in the interest of the time, I'm going to move on. I would have loved to show that video. Now think about tangibles. So think about items when they want something. Again, we want to teach them and we want to strengthen their good replacement behavior. So you prompt the student to make the request either by using short words or by using signs or gestures or pictures or any kind of an assistive device. So again, here we are focusing more on children who might have some developmental delays or might need extra assistance. So I might teach the child to say candy when they want a candy, or once they're able to say candy, I might say work on a shorter sentence. Then as I am teaching them this new behavior, I also want to honor the request, even if it is an approximation. So remember, when the child's is learning to walk, they wobble, sometimes they fall, and sometimes we don't, they might have hard time balancing, but we still give them so much attention and reinforcement. Is the same way. We want to honor and we want to reinforce any approximations as well. Slowly extend and reinforce the wait time for the tangibles, meaning, we don't always want to, once they have mastered, once they have become very good and fluent with it, then every second time or slowly we start to reduce how much we give them reinforcements. Provide a visual schedule. So you could say, okay, now this is the time when your TV is available and this is the time when TV is not available. So you could have some kind of a red card or green card. Somebody had a question about how do you not reinforce every time, right? Because that's also not natural. So we want to slowly reduce and fade out the intensity of the reinforcement that is being provided. All right, then we have do not provide tangibles if the child engages in problematic behavior. Remember, we don't want to reinforce it. So if I fall on the floor and I say, no, I want TV, I want TV, I want TV, it's best to use your calm voice and you say, I know you want TV, and you're having a hard time expressing yourself. But the minute you calm down and you use your sentence, you can have a TV. And then you wait for the child to use appropriate words. Okay, so that was when they want some things. What about when they want to get out of the demand that you have given them? They don't want to complete the work in the house. They don't want to color. They don't want to write. What about those situations? So we talked a little bit about giving them activity choices, right? So if you have to work on writing, so you could say, do you want to write alphabets first or do you want to write cursive first? Some kind of activity choice. Task revision as needed. So you review with them the task. If you feel that helps, you break down the task into smaller steps, right? Sometimes if I say, go clean your room, that's too much. That might be just too vague and there's just too many things in there. But if I reduce it into smaller steps and I can say, I want you to go put your dirty clothes in the washing machine, then I have broken down this big task into a smaller step. Again, mix easy and hard demands, shorten the amount of time the child has to spend on the demands that they don't like, right? Because if you have to do too long for too many difficult tasks, you're less likely to be compliant. You will probably see problematic behavior. having some kind of a visual, so show a timer, 5 minutes. So if math is not preferred, or if writing is not preferred, and they rather just do matching, so you can say, okay, you can do your matching. We will start with 1 minute of math, and then you slowly increase how much time they have they spend on doing their difficult task. This idea of non-contingent escape, right, is very important. If the child wants an escape, and escape is a reinforcer, we want to reinforce it, but let us do it on our terms, right? So we could say, okay, I think you've been sitting very well for 5 minutes. Why don't you go play for a little bit? So now I have just given him escape without any kind of contingency. And I've just said, now you can go have a break. Or every 5 minutes or every 30 minutes, they can go have a break. You want to prompt the child to make the request. So you can say, hey, when you need help, you let me know, use your words. If you want to go get a glass of water, you let me know, and you can get a glass of water. So you're prompting them to ask for break in an appropriate way. So needing help, needing break, I'm all done. And then you want to reward them for task completion. So sometimes the task may not be perfect, but it is completed, right? And that's awesome, because that is one step towards what we want. So reward task completion, and then slowly you can start reinforcing task accuracy and exactly what you want. Work through the behavior, which means this is easier for younger kids. So if you say go put the toys in your bin, and they don't, well, you gave a demand, and then you work through it. So you say, nope, I'm going to help you put the toys in the bin. So if you have to physically prompt them to complete their activities, you do that, which means you let them know that, if I give a demand, which I know you can do, there is a follow through, and then that learning is important. Okay. I will share this video with you, this cartoon with you as well in a handout, but this is a very good example of escaping, right? So I know when I was growing up, my room was just a room with a bed and my books. And if I was told to just go in my room, there was really nothing fun and reinforcing. But nowadays, that may not be the case. I know the bedrooms these days can look very different. There are computers and TV. And if we were to say, as a punishment, say, go in your room, you don't get to hang around here, the kid's probably very happy to go there, right? Dhruv is saying is tangibles are always objects. Not necessarily objects. They can be edible items, or we are talking about something that is tangible, right? It could be a continuous access to something that they already have, Dhruv. It could be wanting difficulty transitioning, so only doesn't want to leave the play area and wants to go back home. So that's a form of wanting specific item or activity and an object. Okay. All right. So that was talking about escape and avoidance. And I want to talk about sensory, which was our fourth function. This can be a difficult one to address sometimes. So if you have a child who is engaging in a lot of hand flapping, or a lot of repetitive behavior, because the behavior itself is reinforcing, we want to teach them some kind of a new behavior, alternate behavior. And then sometimes we might also work on reducing the stimulation that they're receiving. So alternative stimulatory behavior, if they were rubbing the skin, or if there's any kind of a pinching behavior, or any kind of chewing of the shirt or whatnot, so we might give them another item which gives them the same sensation, but it might be in a more appropriate way. So instead of pinching, we might give them a rough cloth, which gives them the same sensation. You teach to request those activities. That's also something that I work towards, where we were not able to reduce the hand flapping of the child, but we shaped the behavior to where he would we shaped it to where he would only stim his hands on his mat, a stimming mat we called it, and he would request for it, and he had 5 minutes to stim. We made a space and a time when for him. Similarly, there can be a space and a time for him to engage in self-stimming behavior, if that is something we are not able to replace or reduce. the other is thinking about protective equipments to reduce the sensation the child might be getting. So biting, wearing some kind of a, protective equipment, having some kind of a helmet for head hitting. If they're spitting, then using some kind of a, tissue, so they're not able to get that sensation of either the stickiness or the visual of seeing something that is sticky. Scratching, pinching, so arm guards is something that's used. But protective equipment as an intervention is not the first strategy unless it's a very, very self-injurious and a dangerous behavior. We always want to think about least restrictive strategy first, and then think about how protective equipment might be needed. Ahan is saying, will scratching call for? Yes, yeah, Ahan. So when you're thinking about scratching, it could be scratching oneself, it could be scratching other people. Both skin picking is also a form of scratching. Where you see a lot of children who might pick on their skin, and that can lead to a lot of wounds and injuries. Okay. Wow, I feel like we covered like a world of information over there, and we're almost to the close. And I really appreciate you guys bearing with us in time. What is our take-home message? The first thing we want to do as we make sense of all the information and problematic behavior that we see is we want to identify the function. And Ahan right here says, they have a particular food or veggie irritation. Yes, and that leads to the function being something biological, right? So we are always wanting to rule out any kind of an underlying biological concern, any kind of an allergies, any kind of irritation, pain, discomfort. All of those are very important variables for us to rule out when we are thinking about the function. So it might seem, or we might say, that the child doesn't want to do his homework, but actually, it could be that he's in a lot of pain, or there was a change in the diet, or there was a change in the weather, or the weather has changed and his ears are hurting, right? So we want to rule out biological reason as a function. Once we know what is the reason or the function, then we want to replace it. So you replace it with something that is appropriate, and that is something that is as socially acceptable as possible for the child. Then you teach the child situations when reinforcer is available and is not available. So we always want to work towards independence from reinforcers as much as possible. So even if we have to early on start by using a lot of reinforcers, the plan should be on how do we fade it out. And then we also have to teach the children how reinforcers are available, and sometimes they're not available. And then you use the same procedures across multiple settings and with other teachers, which means if as a teacher you have found something that works very well, share it with the parents. If as a parent you have found something else that works, share it with the teachers, and vice versa. All right. Okay, so that is my summary slide. I want to open it up to everybody for any comments and questions that you might have. I feel like this was a lot of information that we focused on very quickly. I'll be very happy to share some of these slides as a handout, because I know some of the information is hard to write, and I saw several of you were taking notes as well. So I'll be very happy to share this with you as a written information as well. This is a second webinar that we are having on 23rd of May. We'll be talking about language development. So I will be presenting along with Shilpa. Shilpa is a speech and language pathologist by training, and she's also supervising our clinic at Stepping Stones. So she's overseeing all the speech therapists and occupational therapists. And we'll be focusing on, typical language development, how to increase appropriate language, like requesting, labeling, answering questions. How do we build in some of the children's strengths to increase some of the functional good language? How do we use play and toy interaction to increase language? So I will, with that, bring my conversation about problem behavior on to an end. We covered a lot. And on this chat window, let me know if there are follow-up questions that I can answer before we say it's a wrap. I know we went 15 minutes over, and I appreciate everybody staying on. Uh, Remember that at the end, I will be sharing, will be sending out a link for you to enter your 3 codes. And then we'll share the certificate of completion with you guys on the email that you have used for registration. I'm also going to scroll through and answer some of the questions. If there is something that is specific to your own on kid, on your child, I find it best to answer it, individually. Because I don't want to just give you any answer. Sometimes there might be more that I would want to know. Ravindra, I think that's more for you. Example of non-contingent escape. Yes. So one example of non-contingent escape, Nikita, that's a good question, is you set a timer. So you could say 30 minutes. When the timer goes off, irrespective of how much work you have done, we will take a break for 5 minutes. So it is not contingent on anything. It's just contingent on any kind of a time, right? So you don't say that you have to be good, you have to have, be acting nice or whatnot. There is no contingency for you. It is just, a time. So that's a good way to understand non-contingent escape. And the same idea is non-contingent attention, right? So I would say every 5 minutes, I will go check on this kid in the classroom. So you're not waiting on the child to engage in any kind of a either appropriate or inappropriate behavior. You've just set a timer for yourself, and every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you go and you check on him, right? So it's not contingent on anything. Good question. Divya, for teens, the children are quick to react before we can introduce reinforcers, or the reinforcers which work don't work any longer, especially when there's additional people around. Currently using timeouts, timer, negative reinforcers. Yeah, Divya, so I think that's a good question that you ask. And one of the things I always, I try to remember for myself, and also remind to, parents and teachers, is especially with teenagers, biologically with their, um, when it comes to processing and in their brain development, a lot of their prefrontal cortex, a lot of their planning, a lot of their emotional regulation is still being developed. So we see a lot of reaction first, and then a lot of apology later. So they react first and think later, and we might think that they're just being annoying. The fact of the matter is, the biologically they're a little limited, where their brain is still working on a lot of executive skills, are still working on a lot of emotional regulation. So keeping that in mind, it's always helpful to have some kind of a reflective language in the moment. So if there's a meltdown at the moment, it's always best to use a quiet, calm language, and to say that, I understand this is hard for you to manage. I know whenever you are distressed, or whenever it seems like there are too many people around, you have difficulty expressing yourself. So your choices are, and so have a plan in place which you develop with them, so that that when they are in the middle and there's so many people around in the house and they're acting out, you can go and you present their plan to them. And then you also say that, I know in this moment it can be hard for you to make a choice. So if you are not ready to make a choice, I will make a choice for you, so that you can go calm yourself down, and then you can come back. So some of it is, working a little bit, helping them regulate their emotions. Some of them is, giving them clear choices, because it might seem too confusing, too overwhelming. And then, once it seems like the situation is de-escalated, then bringing them back, and to say that, I liked how you made the choice, and then using reinforcers in the moment. Because sometimes the behavior is just all over the place. Either reinforcers or punishers may or may not hold their value. It may not be the right choice. Divya, I don't know if that kind of sort of answers your core question, but having a plan for when a teenage is in a meltdown situation, or having a plan and reviewing that plan when they're in a calm. in a calm state of mind. Similarly, we do a lot with of this, higher functioning children with the autism who are still working on social emotional regulations, having a plan with them, and you're repeating that plan and then executing that plan when the situation is needed. Okay, good. I'm glad that it was helpful. How do you handle a child who responds to every negative stimulus with loud crying and shouting? Yeah. So, Baljinder, so think about what we talked about, right? We have to identify what is the function. Why is the child crying and shouting? What is it? How do I respond to it? If it is a negative stimulus, is it something aversive? Is it painful? Right. So if we already know that a negative stimulus is being provided and the child is crying and shouting, maybe it is aversive. What is this negative stimulus? Is it demand? Is it the fact that I take away something, right? So we also have to understand what is negative stimulus. Sometimes, we'll see children who are in a circle time. The minute everybody starts to sing, they'll cover the ear. So they're okay to sit in the circle time, but the minute everybody starts to sing, they cover their ear. Some of it could be that the sound is very loud. Sometimes that can also be escape behavior, right? So they've understood that, if they were to cover their ear in the past, people have taken them away from circle time, and that's how they gain escape from circle time. So we have to understand and differentiate, when is it escape, when is it pain attenuation, when is it that they're trying to get out of something that is painful. Okay. Good questions. I like you guys are asking such insightful questions. These are really, really good. How do you deal with the children who lack respect for elders and teachers? Yeah, Dhruva, we need to first start with what is respect? How do we operationally define respect? And then it might be something very simple to start with, and we slowly build on respect. Respect is very broad. Respect is defined differently in different households. So we have to first start by what is this behavior of respect that we want. Dr. Madbala is saying, is there any specific technique for fading reinforcement, or it can be customized? Dr. Madhwala, we typically start to fade out reinforcer gradually. So it is always customized, because we want to see how the individual or the child behavior got affected when we reduce the reinforcer. If we say that, every time I gave him candy, and then every second time I gave him candy, and then every fourth time I gave him candy, but the minute I made it every fourth time, he started screaming and crying. And so maybe for that child, it was too quick. So I might say, okay, now let's go to every 3 candy. Whereas for some other individual, it might be that I could actually continue with the same schedule. So we fade the reinforcement either in intensity or in quantity. We try to reduce a small amount at a time, then have a few days, take behavior for a few days and see, is there stability? Has it negatively impacted the behavior? If there is no negative impact, then I can go back to reducing it further. So this is where the measurement piece comes into play. It's kind of like medicine. When we are trying to find the correct dose, we slowly increase, or if you're trying to get off the medicine, we slowly decrease until we reach a stable good point. So that was a very good question, Madhwala. So some of it is customized. There is, however, a little bit of a plan that is used for everybody, but every children and their behavior is different. So the decision is made based on how the child's responses were affected. So always individualized, but there is a planning in it. In Chitralekhas, I understand about the concept of having the routine in the classroom for children with special needs, but I have a small doubt. During this lockdown, children have a fixed routine. Eventually, when it's time to go back, would it be difficult would they get more difficult? Do we have to keep modifying the routines? I always say, keep the routine that you're able to maintain. And eventually, or sometimes you might change some routine, but I know once the children go back to the classroom setting, they are going to be very different from what they were, right? Which means we'll have to go back to teaching them the routine that they left with. which means that we'll have to remind them the routine, which means we might have to give them a lot more support, which means we might have to give them a lot more reinforcement, lot more praise, lot more active teaching, right? So if there was a set pattern that was working for you, I would probably start with that, but I would almost assume as if they were going back to the classroom for the first time, where there is a lot of active teaching, there's a lot of active corrections, right, and a lot of reinforcement and modeling. So yeah, Chitralekha, we are also gearing up for what our children will look like in the clinics when they are back. um, and I hope you're able to have some kind of a parent interaction while everybody's in a lockdown, and emphasize with the parents the importance of having routine. It's helpful for them, but also it keeps children rehearsing and practicing those good behaviors. uh, Mira, thank you. Oh, thank you to you also, Mira. Thank you so much. How do we deal with students who first show consistent and intense stubborn behavior, but later followed by emotional meltdown, for example, crying and self-blame? So it looks like, I would say it looks like, the initial behavior has now become a little more severe. So either it could be that we either did not identify the function correctly, or that we actually reinforced it a little bit more. So it seems it's important to understand what is the dynamic of the environment. Why is the behavior that was initially just being stubborn has now gotten to where it is emotional meltdown. So which is important for us to now talk about how can we make a behavior worse. And think about a scenario of, you're used to opening a key with a house, a door, a lock with a key that works very well, right? So that's just a stubborn behavior in this example. So you give a stubborn behavior and you get what you want. So you put the key in, you move your hand, and you're able to open the lock. But now something has happened, and you're not able to open the lock as smoothly. So you have to fiddle with the lock a little bit more. Maybe you have to hit the lock a little bit more, and then it opens, right? Similarly with the child's behavior, just being stubborn is not getting what he wanted, or he's not getting enough of what he wanted. So now he's saying that, okay, I feel like I need to do something worse. So one time he was crying and throwing a big meltdown, and he got lots of reward. So the new message or the new sequence that we have reinforced is that now you have to throw a bigger tantrum to get your reward, because we all adults have also learned that now I have to tap my lock, hit it a few times, and then I open the lock, right? So just like our behaviors can get shaped, similarly children's bad behavior can also be increased by us without us really knowing it. So it's important for how we react and respond to some of these highly escalated behavior. Please provide a home program for our child during the lockdown period. Karthikeyan, yeah, I know everybody is asking this question. Shilpa, I'll have you reach out to Karthikeyan, and we can definitely help you develop a home program or some kind of a home schedule. It's very, very important, and I'm so glad that you're asking this. And I think you also asked about my son does the homework without the reinforcement or a very small amount of reinforcement. That's very good, but he talks one or word only sometimes, 2-3 sentences. But when we ask his name, he won't tell. How to improve on this, ma'am? Okay, so again, something very good question. Shilpa, if you could probably connect with Karthikeyan offline. This is something that we like to know a little bit more about, so we can actually help you. Chitralekha, thank you, Gitika. This was helpful. We are in touch with the parents. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you're in touch with the parents. I'm sure that they are really appreciating it. We are all in this together, and I'm sure we'll get through this. All of us as teachers and therapists are, we are also playing multiple roles. And the more we are able to share each other's ideas with each other, and more we are able to support each other, the better it is. So thank you for your kind word, and I really appreciate everybody's patience with technology today. I usually I appreciate webinars that have least or no technical glitches, so I know next one has to be without any technical glitch. But I'm glad, I'm thankful that you guys were patient with us. Very good questions. I'm really liking all the engagement that you guys have. And like I was mentioning, after the workshop, after we are done, I will prepare a handout. I send a PDF, especially with some of the strategies, so that you are able to keep that as a resource with you. Along with that, I will also share some of the sample assessments that we use very frequently at the clinic. I want you to be able to have a look at it and have a copy. And if you want to know further how to use it, we are always there to help you. Don't feel like you need to do this alone. We are all in it. We are all here to help you and support you. Ravindra, thank you so much for your patience. I know we were having a little bit of an issue with the audio early on, so I'm glad that we got that resolved. So I appreciate your patience with there. Okay, Amrita, there was one thing we were wanting to do, right? We wanted to take a picture before everybody left off. Let me unmute you. Okay, Amrita, you're unmuted now.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that like if everyone can turn on their video for a second, we'll just take a group picture of it because it's fantastic to see.
I like to see everybody's faces too. Yes. Oh, that is so good. I know one familiar face I see up top. Oh, it's so fantastic. All right, Amrita, are you taking a picture? Am I taking a picture? Okay, everybody say smile. 1, 2, and 3. And we have taken one picture. I think that should do it. I'll take one more. 1, 2, smile. Okay, that is awesome. Okay, I'm going to move to the next screen because we have so many people. All right, now we got screen number 2. I have no way of telling which was screen 1, so I would say everybody smile again. All right, 1, 2, smile. Fantastic. Amrita, did we get everybody? Oh, we got screen number 3 too. Hi, Prissy, I see you. Yashi, I see you too. Smile. Okay, I think we got everybody. I think we got like 3 shots, and somehow we must have figured out how to get everybody in here. All right, fantastic. Well, we are way past our time, but we are still here. So if you have any lingering questions, ask away. We will continue to hang out for a little longer. If not, you guys are free to go. Thank you so very much. Don't forget to remember the 3 codes for your certificate of participation. Karthikeyan, thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Navleen, thank you so much. Our friends from ComDeal, please say hi to Dr. Karan for us. And Amrita has just shared her contact information. If you have any follow-up question, Karthikeyan, the code was identify. Hey, Shilpa, do you want to write it? I don't want to forget it. I know I was the one who wrote the codes and now I can't remember the codes. Shilpa, if you could just be kind enough to write the code, that would be fantastic. So Karthikeyan, there are 3 codes we had given for certificate of completion. And when you get the survey, we have just posted the survey here. Also, when you get the survey, fill out those codes and we will send you those certificates. All right, Sumia, thank you so much. Dr. Madhuwala, thank you so much for your kind words. I'm so glad you were able to join, and I look forward to seeing you in our other discussions as well. Okay, so Sumia, thank you so much. So the code is identify behavior 2020 of behavior. Is that right? Okay. Can you suggest any books that can guide parents for behavior management? Yes, Nikita, I will. If you can write your email address, I will look up something good for you and send it to you. There are a lot of good resources as well. In general, if you were to Google, you'll find some good books. And Amrita has shared her information. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Saturday morning. I hope everybody's able to stay safe. I know we've had an extension of our lockdown. True test for everybody, but all right, Nikita, I have written down your email and I will send you information. So Nikita Menon at Gmail. Shilpa, if you can also write that down. So, when I share the handout, I'll send a couple of resources for you. And then everyone else can also benefit from it. Thank you. I'm so glad you were able to attend. Mithila, thanks to you too. I'm glad that you found it informative. Just think about one or maybe two strategies or ideas that you can begin with. We've been doing this for so long and it still seems like a puzzle sometimes. So, set a manageable goal, maybe find one or two things that you want to change or modify when you go back to your classrooms, or even now at home, even with adults in the house. It's all behavior, and behavior is malleable and ductile, just like a plastic. We can change it. Very good. Thank you so much. You guys asked such great questions. And I think Amrita has shared a link here, a Google Doc. And this is where you are able to submit the codes and then also a brief survey. I was also wondering if you guys had, ideas or suggestions for, for future webinars that you feel might be helpful. We were thinking about these, but then if there are ideas that you have, we love to be able to put something together for future as well. So feel free to, type in the chat window about any future webinars that you would like to see. Oh, I see a raised hand, but I'm not able to see the name of the person. Feel free to ask a question. I guess like at this point I can unmute everybody. So if you, so if you guys want to talk, that is also okay.
DOCS.
All right. There might be some that might not be related, so I'm going to mute. I might mute that person. But we have a webinar on how to increase to and fro conversation. Oh yeah, conversational skills. I think that's a great topic.
1, 2, 3 ये जो 4 लिखा हुआ है ना.
So initiating conversation, how to have reciprocal conversation. I think that's a great topic. Thank you for that suggestion. We're going.
Copy. I can go out alla. Close madudu vandalla. ಇವಾಗ ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಇವು
Social skills. Wait. Okay, Shilpa, are you saying something? Let me unmute you. Okay, Shilpa, you were saying something? Teaching social skills and improving social behavior for kids. Yes, actually, I think Nikita, I think we might be working on that one in our series for sure. So I'm glad that you wrote that down. We are going to, bump it up and start working on. Shilpa, if you're trying to say something, you're still on mute.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. The social skills and that's we are working on that. I was just about to reply.
Yes. Yeah. So that's actually a really good one. And I think initially we might keep it a little more, generic and broad, where it is applicable to younger kids, and then probably have something for, older kids.
We look forward to see you all on the language development workshop.
Yes, that one's on the 23rd. It looks like we're getting a lot of feedbacks. Rama and Ashrita, Sandhya, Divya, thank you so much for attending and also giving us your feedback.
Okay. We've answered most of the questions.
Baljinder, Priscilla, thanks for your feedback. I think we have a raised hand. Yeah. Smita, is that your raised hand? I see it. I have unmuted you, so you can ask your question if you wanted to ask a question. If not, that's also okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot when I saw your raised hand.
the topic recommend ಮಾಡು future webinars.
Yes, yeah. So we got some recommendations. We got like social skills, improving social behavior. We also got, there were one more recommendation, I think. Or that might have been it. Is it possible to provide an online RBT training course for us? Yes, it is. Karthikeyan, I think, we'll have to have a long conversation with you after the webinar. Everything that you've mentioned, it is possible to do that. And if you have Amrita has shared her contact information, email address, and phone number. So if you could connect with her, that would be fantastic, especially about RBT. We are able to help with that. Any other questions that we can ask for you or answer for you? Maybe Shilpa, Amrita has shared her email. I will share mine here as well. So in case anybody has questions, you can always also email me. We're all available. How to teach new skills to kids who are not interested to learn new skills. Yep, we sort of specialize in that. So very happy to do that. Like crafting, yeah. Methods to inculcate the social and moral life values in children. Yeah, little abstract. So definitely I can see how that can be difficult to teach, but again, it's a very important topic nonetheless. Yeah, and then as you guys are filling out the surveys with your codes, feel free to add these, specific topics there as well. We'd like for you to give us, just thinking about next steps. So give us like a week's time to, send you guys your certificate. We usually get it done quite early, but just to be on the safe side. Any other questions that we can answer for you? I also had many issues with parents stating that the child is more addicted to mobiles and iPads. So ways to recover. Yeah, I think especially now, Ankita, when everybody is home, when there is just, you just quickly run of ideas of what to do. But still, I think having some kind of a structure and a routine, is important. So even if the kids are given iPad and mobile phones, I always say, they should be earning these activities. Now, what happens is, when a child is quiet and not bothering the parents, it's also reinforcing for the parents to give the kids iPads and mobile phones. So it's as reinforcing for parents as it is for the children. So it becomes hard to, uh, you know, f- kind of fix that situation, because if the parents are able to get a quiet 30 minutes, then how do you stop that reinforcement? So it's a difficult and a very touchy subject, because parents want to not give their child iPads and mobile phones, but they're also very quick to do that. uh, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, tell me where I can find that form. Okay, yeah, okay, Lakshmi, yeah, Shilpa just shared it with you. It's a Google Doc, it's a Google link, and we'll also send it out in an email to everybody. So if you did miss it here, you can always go back and fill it up again. It's well past the webinar time, so if you guys, I don't want to hold you guys here for longer than you need to be. So feel free to jump off the call if you have to. just some personal private messages that are coming to me, so I was just responding to that. I need to take medicine and leave. Yes, please, Mira. I really I appreciate you staying on for so long. I hope to see you again in our next meetings, in our next webinar. Everybody, please be safe and please be healthy. These are trying times, but together we'll be able to get past it. And we are all in this together, so it will be okay. So I think Amrita, with this I'm going to close the session.